It's a Minimalist Monday edition of Optimal Living Daily, episode 1487, How Defining My Core Values Changed My Life by Jennifer of simplyfiercely.com. And I'm Shopaholic. Happy Monday. Hope you're having a great start to your week if you're listening in real time. And welcome back to Optimal Living Daily, or the OLD podcast, where I read to you from some of the best blogs I can find and get permission from, mostly covering personal development and minimalism on this show. Before we get to it, small business owners like me wear a lot of hats, and while some hats are great, others like the filing taxes and running payroll hat are not so great. That's where Gusto comes in. Gusto makes payroll, taxes, and managing a team actually easy for small businesses. Gusto automatically pays and files your federal, state, and local taxes, so you don't have to worry about it. Plus, they make it easy to add on health benefits and even 401ks for your team. Oh, and you can get direct access to certified HR experts too. Sounds like a pretty good way to kick off 2020 for your business, right? But here's the thing, we are already in 2020, and you're going to want to get started now, so don't wait. Let Gusto make it easier on you. They've made it a lot easier for me. As a bonus, listeners get 3 months free when they run their first payroll. This is one hat you're going to be glad you gave up. Try a demo and see for yourself at gusto.com/old. That's gusto.com/OLD. For now, let's get right to it and start optimizing your life. How Defining My Core Values Changed My Life by Jennifer of simplyfiercely.com. Quote, "If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got." Henry Ford. I like to think of myself as free-spirited. I'm a live in a van, travel around the world, quit my job on a whim kind of gal. I embrace changes and I get a kick out of doing new things. I've lived and worked in 5 countries, changed careers several times over, and I'm known to take big risks in new relationships. On the surface, I think some of my friends and family think my life is romantic and exciting, and often it is. But underneath the shiny surface, the truth is until a few years ago, I was often deeply dissatisfied with my life. I spent a lot of time feeling really frustrated and restless. It is hard to explain, but I never felt like I was living the life I was meant to live. When the feeling got to be too much, I would change jobs, go overseas, or move to a new city. I was always looking for something, for purpose and direction, and for something to feel right. But inevitably, the buzz of change would wear off and I'd feel restless again, without any answers. I was stuck in a cycle, and by the time I turned 30, I started thinking seriously about my choices and why I felt so empty. Let's travel back in time to 2013. I've just made a ton of changes and quit my life. I left my first husband. I left my job, I left my home in Australia where I've lived for most of my adult life, and I went home to my mom in the States. I felt completely stripped bare, almost reborn, and I was preparing to make some big decisions about my future. Let me be honest, I was scared and a mess. There were a lot of tears and even more wine, but deep down, there was also a part of me that felt empowered. I knew I had been given a clean slate, and I had a chance to create a fresh start. It was a pretty powerful feeling. But with great power comes great responsibility. I had so many options and questions. Should I return to Australia or should I stay in America? And what about that handsome Englishman I had just met? I was suffering from a severe case of decision paralysis, which wasn't helped by my bad record from making decisions. Then one day I was browsing through Pinterest and I read this quote about values, and suddenly I started to realize what I had been doing wrong for so many years. Quote, "It's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are," end quote. Do you know your values? If you had asked me about my values at any other point in my life, I would have yawned and politely changed the topic. But at this point in my life, it was an eye-opener. I started Googling and reading more about values, and things started to click. I slowly started to see why I was struggling to find happiness. I learned that, simply put, your values are what matter most to you. They're different for everyone, and they can also change over time. They act as a compass to help you determine if something, a friend, a potential job, a new pair of shoes, will be a good fit in your life. It was really strange and a total eye-opener to realize I didn't really know my values. I guess I always just assumed I wanted what everyone else wanted, to be happy and successful, right? And I assumed that meant something like getting married, finding a good job and buying a house, filling a big closet full of designer shoes, and going on overseas holidays. But I knew that at one point, I had all of those things, and I hadn't felt happy or successful at all. I had no idea what my real values were, And if I couldn't define what made me feel happy or successful, how could I ever hope to feel that way? How to discover your values. I discovered my values by reflecting on my life, specifically moments when I had felt proud and happy and satisfied, or angry and hurt and frustrated, and looked for the true cause of these feelings. Generally, we feel good when we are living and acting in line with our values, and we feel bad when we violate our values. For example, I'm usually really happy when I start a new job, but inevitably, I always end up feeling restless and unhappy. When I thought long and hard, I realized that I always start to dislike my job when I stop learning new things. I started to reflect on other parts of my life, my hobbies, my studies, my travel habits, and I could see that I was most unhappy when I felt that I wasn't growing and learning. I spent an afternoon writing in my journal and repeating this process until I came up with a list of my core values. Care for myself, care for my relationships, always be learning, freedom, money, possessions, time, mobility, be creative and make things, art, writing, and appreciate beauty, music, nature, and design. When you're defining your values, there are no right or wrong answers, but it is important to be honest with yourself. How to use your values and how I changed my life. Quote, happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. Gandhi. This is what your values are all about, making sure what you do on the outside is matching up with what your heart is saying on the inside. Once you know your values, you can use them like a roadmap to help you plan a life that you love. I first wrote down my values nearly 3 years ago, and I read over my values at least once a week. Every day I try and make sure I include a few activities that support my values, even if I don't have much time. 15 minutes to do yoga or meditate, taking time to write or paint in the evenings, or spending a few extra minutes cuddling my boyfriend in the morning. These little actions help me feel happier and more positive every day. My values have guided me and helped me make much bigger changes as well, and I feel my life has changed completely. I embraced minimalism and broke a lifelong shopping habit. Along the way, I paid off all my debt, and for the first time in my life, I have savings because I know I value my freedom more than having things. I quit my grown-up job to become a professional office temp because I value learning new things and flexibility to choose my own hours over security. I sold my house, and I've been living in short-term accommodation. I have plans to travel and spend more time overseas with my family. And I launched this blog, and I'm sharing my stories because I know that being creative and sharing ideas brings me joy. Plus, I'm learning so many new things along the way. My life didn't change overnight, and I understand that yours may not as well. It's not always possible to up and quit your job or pick up and move, but what you can control are the little decisions you make every day. You can choose to do more of what you love and to let go of all the rest. You just listened to the post titled, How Defining My Core Values Changed My Life by Jennifer of simplyfiercely.com. And don't forget, Gusto offers modern, easy payroll and benefits to small businesses across the country. And if you want your business to be all set up for this year, you don't want to wait. Get in touch now and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. Just go to gusto.com/old. That's gusto.com/OLD. All right, I'll leave it at that. Hope you're having a great day and start to your week. Thank you for being here and listening to me and for subscribing to the show. And I'll be back tomorrow reading to you. So I'll see you there where your optimal life awaits.